Oh, by the way, guys, I mentioned this to Bacon, but I've entered Radon Fest 2022. I'm now I've already participated in Radon Fest a couple of times, and it's quite the festival. I it's almost it's almost too much. It's too much for me. I've tried a handful of times, and Radon Fest has booted me out several times now. So there might come a time where I might call upon you, Bacon or Mojo or both of you at the same time, to help me celebrate Radon Fest. Can probably make easy work of him. Oh, okay. Well, and if that's the case, I'm gonna try a couple times myself. I'll celebrate by myself, and yeah, I'll try a few more times. If it's far too hard, like in a day or two, then I might call upon you both to celebrate with me Radon Fest 2022. I mean, there's times when that guy just nukes me right at the start of the fight, and I'm like, okay. I don't even have time to learn the fight. I don't. I'm just done. I'm just completely toast right at the start. So yeah, I need to at least get a better feel for the fight, and my strategy has actually been to help people. I've been helping some people with the fight, despite the fact that I haven't beat it myself, just to help, just to kind of get a feel for it, to try and learn the flow of the fight. Because yeah, it's tough. It's a tough cookie to what's the term? Tough cookie to crumble, scratch. Okay, let's check the chat. Mojo, if you summon, you can't use torrent. Yeah, even when I'm using torrent, I feel like it's so hard for me to tough cookie to crack, tough nut to crack. That's what they say. Yeah, even when I do use torrent, it's like I'm still getting toast by that guy. He snipes me. I need more practice though. I tried, so I tried the other day like 4 or 5 times, and yeah, I can't say I've learned the fight at all. So I need to still kind of learn the fight. I don't use torrent for that fight. Should consider it next time. Yeah. I mean, it's really epic. I agree, Mojo. Whether you're on torrent or not, like just that start where there's Radon off in the distance, and spoilers for anyone who's listening regarding Elden Ring, uh, specific boss fight aspects of the fight, but you you charge forward with your boys, and I just love it. It's just so cool. Like, it's so epic. You can summon all these guys, some of which you've met throughout the game, right? And you just charge forth like straight out of Saving Private Ryan, like charging the beaches, the sands of Normandy, and you're just getting roasted by that guy, but your boys are with you and you're charging forward. It's really cool. I like that. I like that about it. It's really fun. And I got up to the point where I don't know what you want to call it, like if it's the start of another phase or it's just an attack that he performs once he reaches a certain threshold of health. But I got to the point where he pulls out, he goes into the sky and kind of drops a meteor or something. And yeah, I was like, what? I may have been playing with people at the time, and everyone was running away, and me being the moron I am, I just was stuck there, like trying to fight or whatever, or just staring in awe of what was happening, and then I just got nuked right off the start. And I was just left thinking, what the hell just happened there? It's Radon Fest, man. Radon Fest. I thought that whole area was going to be a sizable dungeon, but it really wasn't. It was a fairly small dungeon, unless I haven't been properly exploring it. That is, which is possible. Um, yeah. Okay. What else do we need to do for this? I'm looking off screen at my reference here, just checking occasionally. Let's get on some orange, actually. He is the meteor. I am the meteor. God damn. That is nutty. Let's try this. Ember orange. I know that, let's see. Well, let's try it. I can always use a different orange. I know that we have some more orange that we can use. But this is what I have on hand, so let's try this. I am the meteor. So yeah, I've been looking up a number of guides for some of the side quests, because I'll tell you right now, like, if I were to just do it without looking anything up, I would definitely miss a lot of this stuff, just because that's the kind of player that I am. I feel like I'm reasonably attentive to aspects of games when it comes to the story and the details and the mechanics. I'm reasonably attentive to these sort of things, but nevertheless, when it comes to Elden Ring, like, it's just, or Souls games in general, like, I definitely will miss stuff just because that's how they're structured, and I'll mess up. So knowing my own tendency, I just was like, let's just look some of this stuff up. And a lot of it is far more elaborate than I actually had anticipated. It's just, there's a lot going on. I'm still shaking this, guys. Might as well take the time to look at the chat. Mojo, the quest design is trash. I'm kind of with you on that. It pains me to say a little bit because I like From Software games. But I'll say that, like, ever since even Demon Souls, I would look up stuff in guides, or I'd have someone sort of remind me of something that I can do, various things in the game. Like, I will definitely miss stuff. That's just me. And From Software, because Elden Ring is that much bigger, it's a huge open world, it's just that much more opportunity for me to mess stuff up, because there's going to be places, some dude in a forest or something, that I'm going to miss just because I'm not scouring over every little inch of detail. Or maybe I did pass by, so on and so forth. Like, I passed by somebody and I didn't even know it, just because there's, you just have to be, I don't know, just that much more attentive to the details, I guess. Mojo, they put traditional From Software quest design in an open world. Absolutely the wrong design decision. Yeah. And I know Bacon's position on this. He was saying how, and I think you guys have actually had this conversation already. He was saying how it sort of makes you feel like the world doesn't revolve around you, right? Like, that you're just one person in this world, and you're not this, central figure to all the events and goings on of the world. I can see where he's going with that, but my argument is that that the world doesn't actually feel like that anyways. Like, the world doesn't feel like it's moving on regardless of your actions. And that's how all From Software games, and you only need to look at how you can talk to someone in a quest, right? To start a quest, and they'll say, "Thank you for your help. Now I'll see you at Radon Fest 2022," right? And it's not like the character then physically walks away from the scene. That's something that all From Software games have done ever since Demon Souls, right? Like, they'll say, you'll rescue someone from a pot or jail or something, and then they'll say, "Thank you for rescuing me. I'll see you at the Nexus," or some crap. They won't actually say that, but you know what I mean. And you keep on talking to them, and then they'll say, like, "Let me just rest my feet. I'll be there in a moment," or some crap. And it's like the reason why all From Software games have done that is because they don't like to program things like a character walking away, like the act of physically walking away, right? And you might say to yourself, what's the point? That's fine. It's fine. The quest design is fine the way it is, right? But here's the issue. And again, this is something that has happened in every From Software game since Demon Souls, is that if you want the world state to change, you'll have to reload the scene, reload the game, right? So, or zone in and zone out, right? But what you can do is often just exit the game, reload the game, and suddenly the guy that you rescued from prison, he's no longer there. Now he's in the Nexus. Now he's in Radonfest, so on and so forth, right? And it's 2022, okay? From Software is a far bigger game developer now than they were back then, when you could sort of make those excuses. You could say, okay, it's From Software. They're not a big dev. They make these little weird games. It's fine, it's fine. Reload the game, reload the scene, and the guy moves on. But From Software is big now. They're big time. They make games that sell in the millions, blah blah blah. And it's time to advance their game design. It's time to evolve their game designs. There's a number of things that we say we like about From Software games. Ever since Demon Souls, there's a number of excuses that you can make for From Software games, and you can say that's part of the design. But let's all be honest here. There's also things that we've kind of just taken for granted as being part of a From Software game, when in reality it's just something that they've always done because they didn't know any better, or they didn't have the ability to do better, or and they've continued to do so for three Dark Souls games, one Bloodborne, Sekiro if you want to count that, Elden Ring. That's 6 games now, right? It's time to evolve. Mojo, they put traditional FromSoft quest design in it. Oh yeah, you. I'm just reading what you said already. And Demon Souls, yeah, 7 games. 7 games. It's time to evolve. They've got the money. They've got the money now. They have the talent. There's no doubt about the talent that work at From Software. And I think that they focus a lot on the things that have made them a hyper competent company. They've focused a lot on the art design. They've focused a lot on the combat. These are things that they nail time and time again. The aesthetics, blah, blah, blah. But it's also time to pay attention to other things now. It's also time to pay attention to the story. I was going to say it's time to pay attention to the quest design. But really, the other thing that strikes me about Elden Ring, despite the fact that George R. R. Martin was involved, was that the story is still very much in line with the past From Software games, And I think people tend to confuse characters that you care about on a story level with characters that become beloved via memes and via things other than the story. And the reason I'm mentioning that is that George R. R. Martin with Game of Thrones is very good at creating characters that you care about and stories that you can sort of feel the emotional impact of, right? And none of that is really present in Elden Ring as far as I've seen personally, because I haven't finished the game. But it's not something where I have sort of a constant connection with a character that I'm relating to and creating a relationship with. There's really nothing like that. You could say Ranny, you could say Blade, or however his name is pronounced. But again, these are characters that you could actually miss throughout the regular course of the game. You can actually miss them entirely. Bacon. I feel like simply adding a journal that lets you revisit some of the dialogue would help a lot. Yeah, I agree. Mojo, it works in linear games, not open world. The quest design is heavily reliant on coincidence, yes. You will come across the NPCs along your journey because of the linear nature of the game. In an open world, it's nigh impossible to come across NPCs after they move to the next area they're in. Yes, 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 yes. These are all words that I am nodding my head to. I'm solemnly nodding my head to. Here, I'm like this. Mm-hmm. 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 As I'm reading, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Bacon, that I agree with. I just don't want them to hold my hand for these quests. Just give us some hits. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They could. That's something where I feel like From Software has made a number of concessions to creating a game that's more broadly appealing. In Elden Ring, they've done things like introduced no weapon no weapon degrading. They've uh, they've introduced fast travel right at the start of the game. These are all things that make the game a lot more approachable for a broader audience. And so and so my feeling is they should then take that and apply it to other areas of their game, you know? They can still make a game that feels like a proper real From Software game, but there are things that they need to modernize. That's kind of like what I'm getting at. The quest structure in The Witcher 3 is actually really good. It does have a journal, but it doesn't feel intrusive or anything. It feels integrated. It feels like it makes sense. There's a lot of things that I'd like to see improved in the From Software games. A lot of things that I've been thinking about for a while now, as far as what they've done presently and what they could do better in the future. And in some respects, like this could have been the game, right? This could have been the one. You were the chosen one. Could have been the one to really upend the table, really kind of take those things that we've taken for granted in a Souls game, and make us think about it in a different way. But nope, it's still a Souls game, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But at the same time, if they were going to go so far as to create a new franchise, right? It's not called Souls. It's not called Dark Souls. It's not called Bloodborne. It's not called Sekiro or whatever. If they were going through the lengths to create a new franchise, my hope would then be to have it distinguish itself more in a way that would be like, yes, this is its own thing. And I'm not sure if they've done enough in that respect. Bacon, I'm okay with missing some NPCs. In my opinion, that is part of an open world exploration. Missing content is something that I don't consider a good experience overall. Okay, let me chime in there. There's a bit more to the chat, but let me chime in there and say that I do agree that I don't necessarily mind if I miss some NPCs, but um, my position is this is an open world game. This game is so much more vast than other Souls games in the past, and Bloodborne, blah blah blah. Whereas in Bloodborne, I did not get the true ending the first time, right? Like I didn't fight the moon presence. I missed that whole thing about the umbilical cords, but I was more than willing to just jump right in right after the credits rolled and just let's go, let's do New Game Plus. I was more than willing to do that because the game isn't, and again, this is at the time pre DLC. I was more than willing to just jump into it because it wasn't all that long, right? Now, the same proposition, let's say I missed something crucial, and I very well might do that still. I am looking at guides, but But for example, there's multiple endings, and there's an ending that people say is, kind of considered the best ending. I'm looking at guides for that because it's there's a possibility that I won't play this game again. You know what I'm saying? Like, once I beat this game, am I going to just jump in the same way I did for Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne, Demon Souls? I don't know, right? I'm not really sure just because it's so big. Mojo, as well as looking externally regularly, all capitals, to find out how to progress a quest is poor design, and again, not a good experience. Now, again, let me pause here in the chat, and I know there's a bit more. Again, to chime in, there's something about that I find From Software has very cleverly touched upon ever since the Demon Souls days, that they've really kind of latched onto this the use of external resources to help you get by in a game. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Right? And I feel like whether by intent or by accident, From Software has kind of found what's the word I'm looking for? They've kind of found the utility of that. They've kind of leaned into it. If they hadn't deliberately done that originally, I will say that they've definitely leaned into that as the years have gone by, such that it has become a part of their game design, right? Now, we all know that all Souls games have some aspect of mystery to them, right? It's sort of baked into the DNA of the franchise, right? And Miyazaki has talked about that, how he enjoys leaning into that aspect of their games, and also this community aspect of the games where people are helping each other, and there's ways that are explicitly conveyed in the game itself, like the whole spirit helping the what's the word I'm looking for, the summons helping each other, the anonymity of it as well. Often the way that people will help you and then disappear immediately. These are all things that Miyazaki has talked about before, and that's something that's baked into the game, the messages as well. Now, I'm putting forward the idea that in addition to that, they've also sort of leaned into the obscurity, even externally from the game, and such that, yes, using external resources, talking to people outside of the game, talking to Bacon about how do I do this and that, talking to Mojo about doing this and that, asking people on the internet how to do this and that. That's actually something that FromSoft has really embraced, and they actually like that people are talking about the game, because at the end of the day, people are talking about your game, people are interacting with the game. And apologies if I go on a tangent, but even further than that, that's what I find very interesting about all Souls games, is this notion of what it means to interact with the game. Kind of at times goes beyond sitting down, holding the controller, and playing the game itself. It kind of goes beyond that. And what I mean is, for me, every Souls game has this phase where I'm playing the game itself, and I beat it. And then the next phase of enjoyment of a Souls game is actually going on the internet and reading about what exactly happened, because I have no idea about the story. Like, I have a very flimsy notion of what the story is, or what my motivation was, or what I was even doing. Lighting the fire, framped, blah blah blah, all of this stuff I don't really fully grasp, and it takes that's the next phase for me, is going on the internet, reading about all of this stuff, watching YouTube videos, guys explaining the lore, blah blah blah. To me, that's actually a very core experience, again, for me, of a Souls game. And in some respects, I do feel like that's something that FromSoft has baked into the experience of the game. Now, having said that, Elden Ring, in my opinion, was supposed to be something different. Elden Ring was supposed to kind of not necessarily do away with all of that, but present people with something a little different, and I feel like they didn't really do that, because it's still kind of the same at the end of the day. Bacon, to make things clear, I agree with you guys regarding quest progression, but discovering a quest is okay the way it is. For better or for worse, that sense of mystery created this community, or gave it the community, or it gave the community more reasons to interact. Yeah, yeah. One cool thing about ER is how everyone's journey is very different, and this sense of mystery and missing content is part of that. Although I understand how this can be frustrating for completionists and trophy collectors like Mojo. But even for me, I wouldn't call myself a trophy collector or a completionist. I'm just trying to get the most out of the game that I can. You know, I'm trying to. I feel like for as much as much of the mystery that they baked into the game, they still want people to understand the story. They still want people to know the story of the game. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I'm getting that from my experience. And the stuff that I'm understanding about the game seems to be relegated to the side quests, like as far as the story goes and stuff. All of that stuff seems to be kind of lumped into the world of side quests. And again, that's something where like, is this a good thing? I don't really know. I don't know if that was a super great idea. Things that involve Ranny, for example, all of that can be missed or completely deliberately ignored. I don't know. I don't have a solution to this, and I'm not, obviously I'm not a game designer. I'm not from software, so, what do I know? I haven't even finished the damn game, so. Okay. Let's, Okay. And I think I want to get another stripe here, but I'm not really sure where I'm going to put it. I guess, yeah, for me, I would kind of want, like, it actually comes down to this. With Elden Ring, I was actually kind of expecting, perhaps I was, what's the word I'm looking for? Creating my own false expectations, where I was expecting maybe a little more conventional storytelling. With Elden Ring, I think it's time that From Software consider that. Just some normal ass storytelling with some normal ass characters and some normal ass cutscenes. Is that too much to ask for? I'm painting a stripe here. I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of get this angle here, and I think I'll outline this stripe with some black to make it kind of pop more. Sorry, I'm gonna check chat in a second, guys. I just wanna kind of do a bit more of this gun. I've been kind of yapping for a decent amount of time. Mojo, I think it's fair to expect something different at this point with Elden Ring. Their last game was Sekiro, which was very different. Yeah, and then there was Dark Souls 3, which was kind of a nice evolution, and then there was Bloodborne, which was different as well. And that's not to say that the open world was not like a trivial addition to the Souls formula. That took in a tremendous amount of effort on From Software's part, and they're not really used to making games in that fashion. And for them to have achieved what they already have with Elden Ring and the open world, that's actually something to be commended. They did a very good job as far as their first attempt. But for me personally, it's not enough. The open world wasn't enough to really sell me, to really super impress me. Bacon, I know ER has a cool setting and lore, but the story is still mostly about your journey, so that's why I'm okay with missing quests and content. Yeah, so that's another thing where that's another thing where From Software has cleverly done since the beginning with Demon Souls was that there's the lore, right? In the past, all the events that happened in the past, and in some respects, you're kind of like an archaeologist. You're an archaeologist exploring the world after some immense cataclysm, after the entirety of civilization has come to pass. You're just sort of picking about the ruins of civilization, finding out about tremendous and epic things that had happened in the past. That's sort of the From Software formula ever since the beginning, right? Um, and to their credit, again, George R. R. Martin is someone who has done that with his stories as well. There's the story at present, right, and then there's all the things that had happened in the past, the lore, which informs all of that. And again, I feel like that's another missing opportunity. That's another missed opportunity to have a more, because we need to make that distinction, right? Like what is the lore and what is the story at present? And I feel like the story at present from software games, that's something that needs to be kind of focused on more. That needs to be elaborated on, because it's been, you know, they've done pretty well with their formula thus far, but we have an opportunity here to really improve on it and do something different. Mojo, but when I played my first few hours of Elden Ring, I was disappointed that it was basically Dark Souls with open world. I wasn't disappointed with that. That notion did occur to me. Like I would, you know what? It was kind of like, dude, this is Dark Souls with open world. Like, holy shit, this is so cool, right? And then eventually, it's kind of like, oh, it's Dark Souls with an open world. Okay, that excitement kind of wears off, and you're like, okay, I still like it. Obviously, I'm still playing it, but the razzle dazzle of that notion, it doesn't really it kind of what's the word, the honeymoon phase kind of falls off a bit, and you're like, okay, I get it. But I think that there's a number of people where the fact that it's an open world Dark Souls is like super hype for them. They're like, oh yeah, this is what I wanted. I love this. I love open worlds. I love Dark Souls, and I love open worlds. This is it. This is it. This is a game. There's a number of people out there where that's enough for them. You know, that's enough to impress them, and that's cool. But for me, again, I'm just kind of like, okay, that's fine. That's neat. It kind of brings to mind L.A. Noire. We were actually talking about L.A. Noire not too long ago into Night Trap stream, but L.A. Noire is a game which has a really impressive open world. They recreated quite faithfully 1930s, 1920s Los Angeles, and I'm kind of like, that's cool, but ultimately, who cares? Ultimately, what does it matter? Because you're just going from point A to point B, and none of that really impacts anything about the game on a granular scale. Nothing. The fact that you're in open world really doesn't matter in terms of like the greater mystery of the game, because it's sort of like a detective game. It doesn't really impact your gameplay at all. It's just there because they knew that's a thing that people want in games. And it does feel like that with Elden Ring at times. It's like they know that people want an open world Dark Souls, so here it is. Do you like it? There it is, guys. The open world in Elden Ring is mid. It's really just the lands between. Um, yeah, and I've talked about this before, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this before as well, but it's kind of like when everything about the world is so desolate and dead, right? From the north of the map to the south, from the east to the west, it's just filled with zombies, and sometimes there's like dead zombie guys on like red grass, and then sometimes there's red zombies in the snow or whatever, and sometimes they're in a forest. But there's just a lot of death and and nothingness and desolation. And when everything is like that, it actually loses what makes it special. It actually loses the impact, because had they put in some sort of small pocket of civilization other than the round table, had they included like some small semblance of a of a culture, of a society holding on to life amidst all the darkness, that would actually create that contrast, and you would feel it more. You would feel the desolation more. But because everything is desolate, nothing is special, right? And think back to like something like Game of Thrones. For any of you that have watched it or are familiar with it, yes, it's a world that's filled with a lot more civilization, blah blah blah. It's a more traditional world building fantasy world. But for example, when you think about the wall, right? The wall is this gigantic structure that spans the north from east to west, right? And it's the last bastion of humanity, right? Now there's pockets of civilization and tribes that live beyond the wall, north of the wall, but really it's just death and desolation north of the wall. And south of the wall is where all the civilization is. But it's the wall itself has this one small garrison of people that are defending the entire thing. And again, it's that contrast, right? That contrast of near absolute nothingness to the north and society on the south, and then basically a small amount of people protecting it. You know, there's nothing really like that in Elden Ring. It's where it's just like it's all dead. It's all dead, guys. Bacon, burb away. Mojo, missed opportunity for more interesting bosses in the open world. It's just copy and paste bosses. Radon fight is the best open world boss fight, but ironically isolated. Yeah. I've only just started Radon Fest 2022. I really do like it. It's very cool. The bosses are a little the open world ones are pretty lame, in the sense that, like, there's the cat guy and the cat statue thing, and then Pumpkinhead and blah blah blah. They're copy and paste. I'm someone that actually, I still don't like the execution of the Chalice dungeons, but I spent a lot of time in it, and I've kind of come to appreciate what they are and what they represent. In Bloodborne, I've kind of come around to appreciating them a little more. And in some respects, it feels like the little underground dungeons with Elden Ring was kind of like a response to the criticism of the Chalice dungeons, where they're more integrated into the main game, rather than being this kind of almost like an entirely separate mode. That's what sometimes the Chalice dungeons feel like. But even then, my feeling is that once you complete the Chalice dungeon like story, as it were, you kind of get this feeling that you understand a little more about the story and the lore of Bloodborne, just a little bit more. Whereas with the little underground things in Elden Ring, it's literally just an underground thing. It's just a little tiny thing that they added, and I don't really get the sense that it has any real importance to the greater story of Elden Ring. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. So I think the next thing I'll do is I'm going to kind of paint the black lines around these around the orange and the gray that I've done, and that's going to kind of gonna make it pop a little more. But I think we're getting close to wrapping things up, guys, because I ended up talking about Elden Ring a lot, but we actually made a decent amount of progress. We finished a lot of the weathering and the wear and tear on this chap here, and the gun is on its way. But after that, this guy is going to be 85% done, and there's a lot of the little finer details that I'm gonna do, and that'll all come in time. I might do the rest off stream,